Bob, has your work always been figurative, and how did you originally get involved in the figure?
It's maybe the last question you ever asked me. No, it hasn't always been figurative. I started out with being interested in making pottery and trying to throw pots on the potter's wheel and make things by hand. And having never had any art classes, I'd never even tried to do any, quote, art and when I went to art school, my main interest was pottery, and I had to take, of course, painting classes and drawing classes and life drawing classes, and up to a point I didn't think I was interested in that at all. In the third year of art school, I finally found something in drawing. I finally found a way, or realized that I had an ability to draw maybe, and I got excited about, I liked life drawing a lot, but that was that, and my ceramics was a whole different thing. And you know, as my ceramics over the years evolved or just changed and left the vessel format in a conscious kind of way, I always look back and think about how then I made sort of abstract sculptures. And I think that was because the vessels, I tried to explain this the other night to somewhere where we were at, to some students, but to me the vessel isn't about, it doesn't pretend to be things. The pot doesn't pretend to be cars, doesn't pretend to be a tree, doesn't pretend to be, you know, all kinds of issues like that. Pots are about the history of pots, and you know, there are sort of metaphorical things about them. But anyway, so it seems kind of natural for me to just want to exploit the clay as a material, and I was inspired by abstract expressionist ceramics, and they didn't deal with imagery. But anyway, little by little, to answer your question, as I was making stuff like that, I think I remember the first figural image, and that was after I read an article on Isamu Noguchi, that inspired me. And when I came home, I was painting a house that day and looking at some art magazines on a coffee break, and I got real turned on, so I just left the job. Left a note saying I had to leave, and I went home, and just after a 3-month depression.
You just quit in the middle of the job?
Yeah, well, I just, actually I've been real depressed about my work, so, and I was having to be a house painter, and I hadn't worked for 3 months, and this when I was contemplating going to school and becoming a doctor. And I'd heard about a quick 4-year program in Chicago to become a practical physician, or whatever you call it. And so I was really thinking about doing that, and I was fed up with ceramics. So I read this article on Noguchi, and it just somehow spiritually really touched me. And I went home and I had 300 pounds of clay mixed up, and I started making things furiously. And by the end of the night, I had all that clay made into things. And some of the things I made were some masks, real direct kind of primitive masks. And they must have related to some images that I saw of his in the article. But then I forgot about that, and I went on making just sort of objects that were sort of ritualistic and nonsensical, and not referring to anything objective. And then in graduate school, I got involved in all that real structural, geometric, kind of sometimes non-objective, sometimes abstract sculpture. But every once in a while I'd do a figurative thing, and then I don't know why I needed to do it, but then I didn't like what I made. I just always was kind of repulsed by my effort. Not repulsed, but I was unhappy, yeah. And around that time, Jim Nutt was someone coming into my consciousness or experience. I was seeing his work over in Folsom, and really loved that stuff. And so I was trying here and there, like about every 2 weeks I'd make something figurative. And then I'd destroy it and carry on with my more romantic and more abstract kind of sculpture and stuff like that.